was able to do that by simply, asking for some connections of some real estate agents, had my list of those I wanted to talk to. Michael's system got me a bunch of leads in Minnesota, which is another state we're licensed in. And we started handing these out. And, when you hand them a lead and it's pre-approved and they just have to go show them homes and close it, you start getting that, reciprocated business right back to you. So it was huge. I don't know how to quantify that necessarily without really diving into some more of our numbers. But when you can hand an agent, a loan, it doesn't matter where you're located. You hand them a loan, they're probably going to want to keep that relationship going. So it's really, kind of flipped the script for what we've always done and how easy it was to get in with some of these agents in different markets. So.
Okay. All right. So we didn't really prep you for this in terms of numbers or whatnot. And again, you don't have to share anything you're not comfortable sharing, but I'm naturally curious then, because you just kind of articulated how you're leveraging the pay-per-click to generate opportunities for real estate agents. That's awesome. It's helped solidify relationships there, create new conversations. Can you give us a sense of like ROI, return on ad spend, whatever, in terms of like the average investment you're making, and just because that's the big curiosity factor. People want to know, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. And I had this, some other systems I had tried, look back at the end of the year and it's, I spent X amount of dollars, which is outrageous. And we closed just enough to make it break even. Well, when you calculate your time that you're spending on that, you're really losing quite a bit of money. So for us, and I know Michael will hit on this as well, our ROI, we've got a lot of room for improvement just because we've scaled it up relatively quickly. And I think we're leaving a lot on the table there. But for rough numbers, Jeff, we're looking at anywhere from between maybe $500 to $1,000 that we spend on, Empower, the ad spend itself, our follow-up systems. For every $1,000, we'll even say $1,000. For every $1,000 we spend, if we're bringing in $5,000 in revenue, which is roughly our income per loan, if we've got a way to have that kind of automated and we've got the people in place, it makes total sense for us. Now, that's not our goal. We would like to see that number down to about $500. For every $500 we spend, we have a loan, spit out at the end. There's things we're doing to kind of improve that, but it's definitely a good starting point and it's profitable. So.
Okay. Nice. I like that. Now, and Michael, I appreciate your patience, right? We'll get to you in a second or whenever you feel it's right for you to jump in. But, and this might be the time, because people listening to this, right, as I'm sure you're well aware, Michael, Facebook gets all the love, or this, you know what I mean? The attention, at least in our industry. There's a lot more noise, if you will, about running Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff. And it sounds like, Brent, you might've spent some time and money on Facebook ads before coming to Michael.
Definitely spent my fair share.
What's a couple of things that are very apparent about the differences, either about the types of leads generated or the ROI or whatever? What really stands out about the key differences?
So I think a lot of the, and I'm not going to, say every Facebook ad or course is bad, but what I experienced was it's easy to get people to click on a link and you can talk about, hey, we'll get you 1,000 leads for, pennies per lead. But with Michael's system, they're a lot more intent driven. So they're filling out a long form. They've Googled, key phrases regarding buying a home or needing a mortgage, where a lot of the Facebook stuff, at least in my experience, was, they happened to click on something and before they knew it, they had gotten on our list. And a lot of them were probably poorly qualified, I guess I would say. They might've been intrigued by poor credit, okay, or no down payment available. Those aren't really, the loans we're looking for. The stuff we're seeing on Michael's side, they're a lot more ready to buy a home. They're farther down, the process, maybe farther down in the funnel, you might say. And what we're running into is maybe they've already talked to their local bank or another mortgage company, and we're competing for that, which is okay. They're still exclusive leads to us, so that's great. But they're definitely interested in buying a home. They, for the most part, know why they're being contacted.
Okay. So, Michael, you want to expand on that? Because I understand the concept of higher intent.
Yeah, and I'll always defer to Brent, obviously, and I think it's great that you've got him on here answering some of these questions. But when it comes to Facebook versus Google, that's like one word, right? A one-word summary of the difference is going to be that word of intent. I mean, at the end of the day, the problem that you face on Facebook is that buying a home is the American dream. Everybody wants to buy a home at some point. Now, whether or not somebody has positioned themselves to be able to legitimately inquire and see what's required next, like what the next steps are to buying a home, that's the question that's going to determine their level of intent. So on Facebook, you run into this challenge where you can try and target people that are within their buying window, but Facebook makes that harder and harder constantly. Facebook has made it pretty clear that they don't like mortgage advertising, and and the reason why is because if mortgage advertising, fair lending laws, that's really where a lot of the hot water that they've landed in, aside from obviously your Cambridge Analytica scandal or whatever, but that's where a lot of their hot water has come from in their advertising space, which is why you'll find it's getting harder and harder, and they're constantly removing your targeting metrics. You used to be able to target likely to move. You can't do that anymore. You kind of have to create your own audiences and stuff. So anyways, as good as you can get with targeting, it's never going to replace finding somebody who is searching for questions or answers to their questions right here and right now. So how much house can I qualify for? How much down payment do I need on a $400,000 house? Or what's the minimum credit score requirement for a conventional loan? Because they heard from their buddy that FHA loans are bad for whatever reason. Like, there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that are searching for this stuff every single day. And yet we've got a lot of marketers on Facebook trying to stimulate engagement or trying to manufacture intent with buzzwords or flashy graphics and stuff like that. And it's the problem that you run into with Facebook is that you have, if your ads are too enticing, you're going to have low quality leads. If your ads aren't enticing enough, you're not going to get enough lead conversion. So it's a tough game to play for sure when you're not setting up camp where people that are in your target market are searching.
Do you think the path to, loan app, in our case, mortgage, or path to actually transacting on purchasing a home is it's a longer path to get there on Facebook versus somebody doing a Google search, or is it similar?
No, I think it's definitely longer. I've talked to a lot of people. I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and as a loan officer previously, I was generating Facebook leads and Google leads myself. But pretty much consensus from when I talk to somebody that's converting on Facebook, it's really hard for them to quantify an average purchase window because the intent wasn't there in the first place. So on the off chance you generate somebody that's highly qualified, there's typically a reason that they haven't been searching for it, which is why they clicked on your ad and weren't searching on Google. And so for that reason, we quantify our conversions with our customers within a 4-month window only. So anything outside of a 4-month window is gravy. That's awesome. We'd love to see our customers convert that, but that's usually more a testament to their follow-up abilities than it is to our lead gen. And so when we're looking at conversions, we are only interested in how many of these leads are converting inside that 4-month window from when the lead was generated.
Okay. And what is, I know it varies quite a lot, but is there an average conversion ratio on a Google versus Facebook? Yeah,
I mean, the variations are going to be wild. And so what I would say is that somebody who's bought into the system that we implement, because we control so many variables through automated follow-up and conversion coaching and stuff like that. And I think Brent can speak to what his numbers are like, but 2 to 4% is what we would expect to see. So we have some customers that have seen upwards of 5% for an extended period of time, but those guys are typically spending the minimum recommended ad spend and just going all in on it to get those, 3 to 5 deals that they're looking to get, versus somebody who wants to scale it up a little bit and use it as just a supplement in their business is going to see more like that 2 to 3% range. And some of our customers have even seen less than that. I think Brent, when we first talked about increasing his ad spend, probably a year ago, he was looking at like 1.5 to 2%. And when we talked, there was a lot more interest in how do I scale this up than how do I get a higher percentage of conversion, because that's just what made sense to his business model. So different loan officers are going to have different ideas for that. Some loan officers are all about scale. How big can I blow this up? And those guys are going to be more comfortable with a lower conversion rate, which will lead to them focusing their activities on things that are lower conversion, higher scale, whereas some loan officers want to squeeze every last penny that they can out of their marketing dollars they've invested and are going to focus their activities that way and see a higher conversion rate.
I should jump in there too quick, Jeff, on the conversion part of it, because we spent a lot of time before we had talked to Michael and implemented some automation where I had a loan partner on my team. He was physically calling every one of these leads every single night before he left. He would, hit the phones, and it was definitely a burnout type of a situation. So my recommendation is you need to 100% need to automate the initial follow-up. And I know Michael would set that up for anyone listening, but you automate the initial follow-up. And then when they engage with you, that's where you customize and spend your time trying to convert them from asking questions to taking an application to obviously closing their loan. So we've done a lot of the automated follow-up on our end. Michael's hit on that too. Our pull-through rate could be higher, but we don't want to spend man hours working internet leads. That's really not what we're about. So only talking to people that want to talk to us has been huge. We've implemented some videos where we've had some kind of evergreen or canned type responses based on the parameters they fill out on the lead form. That goes out to them. The appearance is that we spent a lot of time analyzing their form, when in reality we recorded maybe 30 videos one time, and the system just kind of reads what to send out. So video has been huge. Putting video in there, customizing what we can, knowing your numbers on that, and then just automating what you can.
So what's again, back to, I guess, the timeline question, right? I know we've kind of touched on this with the Facebook thing, in that it's, Facebook is an intent-based. Nobody really goes on Facebook to search for homes. It just happens to show up in their feed, or somebody buys a home, their friend or whatever, you know what I mean? All that stuff. What is the kind of average timeline you see on somebody, right, clicking on your Google PPC ad, getting into your funnel? And again, I know things vary, but in general, right? I mean, are we looking at like 90 days, 4 months? Is that why you have that window there?
I was going to say right at about 90 days, if I had to guess, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we'll get the ones that are, they found a property, they need to get pre-approved, they're going right away. We've got others that are, 4 to 6 months, we end up closing them, but really that 90 days, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but that's kind of how you measure a lot of that too. Or maybe 120 days, but it's on 90, I would say it would be the average for what we're seeing.
Yeah, and I ask that because from what I hear from people I've talked to on the Facebook side is, and we kind of talked about this, but it's quite a bit longer on the face. And I don't know, does it all come back to intent?
Personally, I think that's exactly what it boils down to. I mean, some of it's going to be intent, and then some of it's going to be quality of the leads. I mean, at the end of the day, and what I mean by that is like their qualifications, right? Which also can be kind of tied into intent as well. I mean, it all kind of ties together. But on Facebook, like I said, if you generate somebody that does qualify, well, the intent wasn't there in the first place. Versus if you generate that lead on Google and they do qualify, they're hot, they're ready to go. I think Brent can speak to us to this. Like he said, I mean, you're never going to get a lead on Facebook where they've identified a property and they're looking to get pre-approved. That's never going to happen on Facebook and I mean, I shouldn't say never, maybe 1 in a million chance of that happening because they run across the right ad at the right time. Whereas what we see on the Google side, we see FSBO situations all the time where somebody is renting a home from their landlord, and their landlord told them that they're going to put it on the market, but that they want to give them first dibs. And so the first thing they're doing is going to Google to find out how much house they can qualify for to see if they can buy it. They click on our ad, the loan officer responds, they figure out they can get approved, and they're submitting an offer 2 days later. That's just not something, those kind of scenarios, while they're not extremely common, they're going to bring down that average close time quite a bit. And those are the types of scenarios that, like I said, I mean, barring some crazy statistical anomaly, you're just not going to see on Facebook.
Interesting. All right. Hold on one second here. I want to pause for a second. This is why editing is a good thing. I need to do something real quick. Hold on. And 3, 2, 1. All right. So what are the types of ads that you're seeing that are working on Google, or are you choosing the ad copy based on the type of client you want to attract?
To be honest with you, we go pretty generic with the ads. We're not we will run some experiments where, for example, we have a client that claims to be a VA loan specialist, right? And so he'll close any loan, but he really likes VA loans. I think there's a lot of loan officers out there that would say the same thing. So we'll run some VA related ads in his account to supplement or even to prioritize over the existing ads that we're running. But the thing is what we've been able to identify is that even companies like Veterans United who market 100% of veterans, and I don't even know if they write loans aside from VA loans. If we type in how much house can I afford on Google, Veterans United will typically show up in the top 4 with an ad that has nothing to do with VA loans whatsoever. And so when we look and we see stuff like that, we see that the more general approach of just positioning ourselves to answer whatever question that they asked on Google is the most effective way to generate the lead. So again, that question almost always is going to revolve around specific qualification questions or general qualification questions. So specific would be down payment, credit score, income, et cetera. And people are literally typing into Google, I make $90,000 a year and have a 670 credit score. How much house can I qualify for? We see those types of searches all the time. In fact, 95% of the leads that we generate are one and done as far as search terms go, meaning they're unique searches that have never been searched before and come through our lead funnel. And so for example, that one-off, I make $90,000 a year and have a 674 credit score or whatever, how much do I qualify for? Well, we may have one lead that searched that specifically, and nobody will ever search that exact search term ever again. They'll just search some other variation of it. And so when we see that that's the trend, and when we see that that's the case, we know that our best bet is to position our ads as, hey, here's a resource for you to get your mortgage questions answered, or here's a resource for you to see how much house you can qualify for or how much house you can comfortably afford.
Yeah. So are you deciding who to serve your ad up to based on the keywords, the search terms that they punch in?
Yeah, so more so the opposite, actually. What we're doing is we're casting a pretty wide net. But what we do is every month more often than that up to this point, but now we've got it dialed in pretty good to where we're doing it once a month or so. We're going back and we're reviewing the search terms that led to leads, and we're making sure that we use what Google calls negative keywords to identify keywords that we absolutely do not want to show up in our searches. So that way is what allows doing it that way is what allows us to capture all of those one-off crazy search terms that you would never be able to identify specifically. I want somebody who searches for this by casting a broader net, and then just making sure that we kick out, for example, we have a negative keyword for every credit score under 580. So we literally went from 300 to 579 and included every single number in that range as a negative keyword. So that if somebody searches, I have a 560 credit score, how much house can I qualify for? Our clients' ads aren't showing up for that. So negative keyword management. I mean, we have a list of over 1,000 negative keywords where we've said if the search includes this, even if it pertains to what we're bidding on, we don't want to be in contention for it. And I think that's a big part of what allows us to be super competitive on the Google search side, is that actively managed strategy where we're identifying the words that we absolutely do not want to include, instead of trying to guess and poke and stab at the words that people are searching for.
Sure. Plus those are lower cost to get those as well, right?
Yes. Because
they're less competitive. Like if you said earlier, like if I'm going to search for how much house can I afford, that's one of the most competitive search terms there are.
Right.
So the odds of us winning that as a average Joe LO, we're not going to beat the Veterans United of the world or the others.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we definitely see a lot of volume coming through there. We just have to pay more for that volume, which means if our average lead cost is $7.50 to $10 a lead, that might be a keyword that is a good high intent keyword, but we're paying $12 to $13 a lead for it instead. Google, there's a really common misconception when it comes to Google that Google's just selling ads to the highest bidder, but that's really, it's not the case. Google has become the #1 search engine in the world, not by pandering to the highest bidder, but by being obsessed with user search experience. And so part of that is rotating ads, getting local ads in when you've got national companies like Quicken Loans and LendingTree bidding on a national campaign. If we can manage an individual campaign at the South Dakota level, well, we're automatically going to be more competitive for that than a Quicken Loans or a Veterans United, all else equal. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. I wouldn't say, I mean, your really common high cost keywords are going to be like mortgage rates today or something like that. But a lot of that comes from a misunderstanding of what user search experience is, and not because there's so many people bidding on those keywords. It more has to do with restricted search volume, meaning less people searching for those keywords than it does more people bidding for those keywords, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of your targeting is based on local. Like, what I'm reading is that the growth of near me, people adding that to search terms, is really exploding. And I'm wondering, like, if it's a near, like Sioux Falls or whatever, are you guys incorporating that in your strategy?
So the way that we limit locality, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the user's search so much as it has to do with their actual location. So
at the moment they're searching based on like IP address or geolocating.
Yep, exactly. And the reason why is because, like the near me thing, for example. Well, yeah, if somebody is looking to work at it or start working out at a gym and sign up for a new gym membership, well, they're going to add near me to their search, obviously, right? Well, 10 to 15 years ago, if somebody had mortgage related questions, they might search best mortgage lenders near me or best mortgage lenders in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They might search for something like that. Whereas nowadays we live in an age, I call it the age of WebMD, where people are more interested in having their symptoms diagnosed online than they are actually talking to a doctor, which is why those keywords like mortgage lenders or best mortgage companies in Sioux Falls, those keywords aren't the way to generate leads online and aren't the keywords that the best companies are bidding on, is because that's not what people actually search for anymore. What they're actually searching for is, again, those qualification related questions. And so nobody's going to search how much house can I qualify for in Sioux Falls, right? Or maybe they do, and if they do, we'll be in contention for that. That's fine. But typically when they're asking those kind of questions, they're asking them from a standpoint of mortgage, like of trying to understand better, like the qualifications for getting a mortgage, and not necessarily wanting to talk to a loan officer that's directly in their locale.
Interesting. Do you think that changes for a real estate agent, for example, like real estate agent near me?
Yeah, I do. Well, and I don't think, and honestly, your PPC campaigns for real estate are not typically going to be oriented around real estate agent near me. A lot of the times that's going to stem from people, homes for sale near me, and then inquiring through an IDX site or a Zillow or something like that, and ultimately becoming a lead for that reason. I think that the trend in searches exists on the real estate side as it does on the mortgage side, where people don't necessarily search for a real estate agent to talk to. They search for real estate related searches and then get intercepted, and a quality salesperson converts them into ultimately being a deal for them.
All right. So here's a self-serving question. I like to occasionally play around with these keyword research tools. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know the Google got one and all that kind of stuff, but one that I like, I think lately anyways, is Neil Patel's Uber Suggest. I don't know if you've seen that, but so I just happen to type in right here, like homes for sale near me. And so this has obviously got search volume for, I think, the last 30 days or something. But how can me as a listener, as a loan officer, if I want to, even if I'm producing content, right, I want to maybe get some, who knows, show up in, local content or whatever. How can I better understand the search term thing? How can I better understand the types of content or things that people are looking for so that I can, let's just say, produce content around those things that are searched more often?
Yeah, I think your keyword research tools are going to be solid, but what they're not going to encompass is those one-off searches that we talked about. So really, it's tough for us to say, because or it's tough for me to say because we found it, like we figured this out almost on accident, right? What happened was I didn't necessarily understand when I first built my first Google Ads campaign as a loan officer 3 years ago. I didn't necessarily understand the difference between broad match, phrase match, and exact match, which we won't necessarily dive into, but basically it determines the level at which the search has to match what you're bidding on. I didn't understand that. So all of my keywords were broad match. Well, it wasn't until a couple months down the road that I realized, holy crap, the keywords that I'm bidding on are not necessarily what they're searching for. They're just categorizations of the searches. So I found this function within Google called search terms. And then that's where it told me exactly what people are searching for. And the only reason that we know so much about search behavior is 3 years of data pouring over those results. Like I said, I tried the keyword search tools. I tried specifically Google's keyword planner. I don't know. 3 years ago, I didn't know of Neil Patel, so I didn't try that. But there's another. I think WordStream has one or something. Yeah. There were a couple keyword research tools that I used, and those keyword research tools didn't really help me, and help our company arrive at the conclusions that we've arrived at through 3 years of data. I would say just more than anything, just understanding the age we're in. I think that this conversation alone for a loan officer that's interested in this, if you really take this conversation to heart and don't brush it off as just a podcast conversation, if you're interested in targeting through SEO or PPC and you really listen to what we're saying here and how people search on Google, and the fact that if somebody wakes up in the morning and they're bleeding from the ears, they no longer search for the closest doctor to talk to. They type their symptom into WebMD and try and get WebMD to tell them what's wrong with them. If you truly internalize that, then you'll start to understand what it is, the kind of content that you should be producing or the kind of ads that you should be running.
How do you address the perception? Maybe it's my perception, maybe it's based on just kind of general noise out there that succeeding with Google PPC is expensive.
Results. That's the only way we've been able to do it up to this point. We can show, typically on a demonstration, if we've got somebody that says, hey, I was told that this, that you can't do this unless you have this much to invest. There was a book that was released a couple years ago that was really really popular among people that were marketing and mortgage, that said specifically outright, if you don't have at least $3,000 a month in Google PPC, don't bother. The best thing that we can do, I started this system on $700 a month, and our minimum recommended ad spend for our clients is $750 a month, and for that they expect to receive 75 to 100 leads. So the best thing that I could say is results. As far as understanding the why behind the results, I would just backpedal a little bit to some of the things that we've talked about earlier in the call. The fact that Google doesn't necessarily want to pander to the highest bidder. Search volume and not the number of bidders for a keyword is going to drive the cost more. So I just did a demonstration with a couple of loan officers out of a major mortgage company that you're very familiar with. Just had a call with them, and they showed me their Google Ads account, and they were paying an average of $6.50 to $7 a click. We've got loan officers that have been with us for 4 or 5 months that have never had a 30-day period where they paid more than that per lead. Wow. So our average cost per click is going to sit somewhere around the $1.50, $1.60 category. And Google does not have a minimum threshold as far as how much you have to spend to be able to get those kind of results. So that's the best that I could do other than showing the results, because it's lip service is lip service. You know what I mean? Sure.
Well, and I would add to that too, guys. I've always heard the expression from a famous mortgage coach that we're not selling pencils here, right? So if we close a mortgage loan and we've got $5,000 that we netted for revenue, and you look at what we spent to drive that business in the door, you can take some time and kind of fine tune things. But after 90 days, with Michael, it was, hey, we've closed X, we spent Y, we should keep doing this. And that's, ultimately, I think it's hard to want to invest money, especially going into maybe the perceived slower time of year, or you're already too busy, you don't have time to do this much more. But if you look at what you can spend and what it could net you at the end, and those numbers make sense, and I go back to knowing your numbers, because I'm guilty of this as well. We spent, a ton of funds on other avenues, and at the end of the day, we broke even. Well, nobody wins in that scenario. So, just echoing, I guess, what Michael said. If you look at what you spend, what you close, say 90 days in, to us it was a no-brainer, but it's going to be a little different for everyone. Every market's going to be a little different. So, tracking that, I can't emphasize that enough, is a big key to it. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process? I'm pretty familiar with how it works on Facebook in terms of somebody clicking on an ad, right? The channels or the funnel they go through on that. Does it differ at all on using Google?
Not much, to be honest with you. It's gonna the big difference is going to be that your ads are going to look like native search results. So when you search on Google, you're going to see, typically you'll see 3 to 5 at the top of the page that have the only identifiers that they say the word ad next to it.
Right.
So those are what we would call native ads. That's going to be the key difference, in my opinion, is that they're native within the search results that they're already pouring through. Outside of that, you're going to click on, just like anything else, or just like any other channel, they're going to click on that ad, and then they're going to go to a landing page. And then from that landing page, we're going to pull them through a lead form, redirect them to a thank you page, and dump the lead into an automated follow-up system. So I think it's pretty similar, other than on Facebook, you do have that lead ad functionality, and Google is starting to roll this out too. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be. I honestly won't dabble with it until we see some bigger players dabbling with it. But on Facebook, you have that option where if somebody clicks on the call to action, instead of taking them to a landing page, it pre-fills their information, name, email address, phone number, or whatever, which again sounds great as far as just driving your cost per lead down, but it just removes an extra layer of intent that we kind of want those leads to have in order to quantify it as a good lead.
So speaking of that, are you then purposely driving people through, kind of that questionnaire lead funnel process where you ask them several questions, which is kind of like an intent qualifier process for you?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And there's a couple different reasons that we do that, but the number one reason is going to be because we've identified that all of the companies that are really good at this on a high level are doing it. And so we just, we're just going to do our best to model what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what the big boys are doing.
Exactly.
So then the post opt-in, if you will, ad click process it involves the multiple mediums like it would on Facebook, right? You're going to be texting people, putting a call in the cycle at some point, emailing, and then most of that's going to be automated. But obviously, some of the outbound might be just picking up the phone, or have you automated all of that, Brent?
We've automated it all. I know, talking to Michael, there's clients of his that have pounded the phones, and they're probably getting a higher pull through rate. For us and what we're doing, we wanted to automate as much of it as we can. So we are really not corresponding with these leads unless they're reaching out and talking to us. So I would say the majority of them, probably 90%, if I had to guess, would respond via text. I get quite a few emails as well. That's probably 80% text, 10% email, 10% phone call as far as response.
You mentioned video earlier. How are you delivering those videos in that touch process?
So I use BombBomb, and a lot of it goes out automatically via text.
Oh, okay. So it's a text BombBomb, not an email.
Right. And then if I need to customize something for them a little bit, rather than exchanging emails, I'll do a quick video and just walk them through basically what they spelled out on their form. Hey, you're looking to buy a $300,000 home. You're a first-time home buyer. That's great. Looks like you've got 5% to put down, credit scores look great. And, just giving them a little bit of a personalized attention, which takes me maybe a minute, and then, taking the conversation from there.
So obviously there's a CRM involved here, right, Michael? And I'm just curious, do you guys have your own that you use, and maybe Brent, you have your own? Or how does that work in terms of clients? Can they use pretty much any CRM?
Yeah, so this was my only hesitancy about bringing Brent on the show, is that Brent doesn't leverage our, no, the only one, I promise. But no, it was Brent doesn't leverage the CRM that we use. But Brent also has been spending a lot of money on this for a long time, and is a happy returning customer. When we first started, we did not have our systems dialed in to the level that we do now. So it's just always made sense for Brent to stick with what he's doing. He still is doing all the channel channels that we're doing. We just use a white label version of an agency software where it makes it really, really easy for us to toggle between our clients, as well as it's really, really easy for our clients who have zero technology background to manage and view all of the leads and all the interactions within the same place. So the toggling is important because of the one-on-one coaching that we provide for our clients to help them move the needle on their conversion rates. If we have 65 loan officers across the country that are working the same system, and 64 of them are all using the same CRM. Thanks, Brent. No, I'm just kidding. 64 of them are all using the same CRM. What we're able to do is we're able to identify those loan officers that are converting at a high level and look at what it is that's going on and how they're conversing. And depending on their settings, we could even listening in on some of their phone calls and provide some coaching and feedback for the loan officers that maybe aren't converting as well or didn't have any experience coming into it. So yeah, we use a white labeled version of an agency software. I won't even drop the name of the agency software just because it's only available to agencies. We brand ours as Empower Contact. There's a few other agencies out there that have something very, very similar or the same. But the point is it just needs to be a place where not only can you manage the initial interaction, that automated follow-up, but also being able to track that lead through the pipeline at the point that lead has engaged, and having a really easy place to see what all those conversations have looked like, and then ultimately where they went in the pipeline and whether or not they closed.
Wow. Well, it's built a pretty strong case for his CRM there, Brent. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So what's your general, we got to wrap this up here for sake of time. I know you guys are busy, but for those that, are evaluating or considering, any things that they need to be aware of, how does a loan officer know whether or not they're ready to test out Google ads?
I think I don't think any loan officer really should be playing with it themselves. I mean, we do have a free resource on our website, the 3 steps to Google ads. It's about as black and white as you can get as far as, hey, here's how you could build this out yourself and dabble with it yourself. Problem is just you can spend so much energy and time doing that and not necessarily save any money at the point that you now have to dial in those ads and you're spending $20 a lead instead of $7 a lead up front, that sort of thing. So I think there's a monetary side of it. You have to be prepared to spend $500 to $800 per closed loan, and you should probably be prepared to invest that much time, times 3 on a monthly basis. So you should probably be prepared to invest $1,500 to $2,000 a month. That's not because you can't do less than that on Google ads, but that's because we have to make some money too, obviously. So it's, a combination of those two things. So that would be one thing. That's the monetary side of it. But on the flip side of that, in my opinion, you have to have the mindset very similar to what Brent had when he was talking about earlier, where he just wanted a system where it was money in and money out. He didn't necessarily have a perfect this crystal clear vision of exactly what he wanted his business to look like and exactly what percentage of his business he wanted from what marketing channels. He just knew that he wanted to be able to find a marketing channel where if I invest this much and this much time, I can expect to see this out the end. The reason that's important is because our best clients are going to be very, very coachable. Our best clients are going to understand that a realtor referral is not going to convert anywhere near the same way as an internet lead. We do things like secret shopping the biggest consumer direct mortgage companies out there to identify what are the best practices for converting leads. And if you're talking about fielding a referral from a real estate agent versus working that internet lead, those two strategies are going to be entirely different. So the loan officer has to be coachable and understand that the way that they've worked the business up to this point and the way that they've worked leads up to this point may not align with the best practices for converting the leads. And so if you're ready to let go of whatever you feel like those best practices are, or whatever you feel like you want your business to look like, and just plug into a system, that's what I would say is what ultimately determines our best fit for us specifically. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll add to that too. We're talking, Michael's saying maybe 2 to 3%, close ratio of 100 leads. So that means you've got to be prepared for things like, Mickey Mouse at yahoo.com, people telling you to get lost or, worse than that. You've got to expect that if you've got 100 leads, you might only get applications on, say, 20 or 30 of them, and maybe only 2 or 3 of them close. But if you've got it where they're reaching out to you and you're just filtering through these, that 2 or 3 loans at the end of the month is a lot better than 0 and, basically doing nothing, I guess is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, well, you said something early on that I happened to catch. I didn't kind of highlight it there, but if I heard you correctly, this is just one of your pillars of business. You still work with real estate agents, right?
Oh, definitely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to rely on this solely, I never think you should put all your eggs into one bucket, right? So having these leads to be able to hand out to agents, that's huge.
Right.
We're not at a retail bank where we've got, customers walking in the door that need a mortgage. So
yep.
We had to figure out other ways that we can generate business that we can refer out. So that's been huge. And then obviously the lifetime value of a customer, you could figure that out. Somebody way smarter than me could do that, but that all plays into it. And it's all, positive ROI that you add on top of what you're seeing the first 90 days. So.
And Michael, real quickly, so your point about the difference between a realtor lead or realtor referral and an online one, I'm kind of reading between the lines there, but I think what you're saying is that I'll just, in simple terms, it's easier to convert the referral than it is the online lead.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the difference, honestly, between being an order taker and being a salesperson. In the context of the leads, obviously, in order to get those realtor referrals, you have to have been a salesperson with that realtor. But selling to a realtor and selling to somebody you've never met that inquired on the internet that was just looking to get some questions answered online, and they're just 2 completely different ball games. And so that's why we do everything we can to control as many variables as possible and provide that feedback.
That's a good point. Good point. 2 different skill sets. Love it. All right. Well, listen, gentlemen, I know you're busy, so let's wrap it up this way. For each of you, I'll start with you, Brent, in terms of if anybody wants to connect with you, where should we send them to connect with you if they choose to?
Yeah, definitely. So we're basically, we're licensed in 5 states in the Midwest. We're looking to grow that in the next couple of years here. So if you're a loan officer and you would like to talk about the broker channel and maybe having some leads provided for you like we talked about today, we'd love to have a conversation. I can give you my input and feedback on the system. I'd love to answer any questions, and if it makes sense to talk further, on what we're doing, we'd love to do that. I'll give you my cell phone here, and then feel free to hook up with me online as well. But 605-400-9541, and feel free to text or call me anytime. So.
And what about an online place? You want a website, email?
You can hit up our company website. It's sodakhomeloans.com.
Okay.
There's a spot there where you can connect with me as well. So.
Got it. sodakhomeloans.com. Cool. We'll put that in the show notes. And Michael, how about for those who want to check out Empower Funnels and what you're doing?
Yeah, come on and check out our website. The call to action is going to be to schedule a live demonstration. That's the best way for you to check out what we do. Either myself or one of our conversion specialists will walk you through exactly what we do, how we do it. If nothing else, you'll leave much more educated than you came on, hopefully. That's empowerfunnels.com. You can always email me directly at michael@empowerfunnels.com if you have any questions. Best phone number to reach me at, my cell, 208-278-2630. Make sure as you're booking these demos that you're mentioning Jeff's podcast, though. We've got a special treat for you. So,
cool.
Yeah.
It is the season.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys educating us today. And I learned a lot in terms of like Google and, took some of the mystery out of it. And I think it definitely, to your point about, look at if it's the right time for you in your business, you've got like the, budget to invest. And I mean invest and put at least minimum 90 days into that. It's worthy to test it out as another pillar of your business. So appreciate you guys both being here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet. And listeners, as always, you know what to do. If you like this episode or any of the others, hey, leave us a little love, give us a review on the podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.